The film opens in absolute chaos, sirens scream through the air. Explosions tear through the skyline. Civilization, as we know it, is collapsing. Amid the panic and destruction, a man named Paul is running for his life, pushing through crowds, smoke, and fear, desperately trying to escape whatever has brought the world to its knees. He finally reaches a quiet, secluded location far from the city. Out of breath and shaken, Paul collapses to the ground, clutching two infant boys in his arms. As the sounds of destruction fade into the distance, he whispers reassurances to them, promising that no matter what happens, he will keep them safe. 15 years pass, the world has not recovered. Paul now lives with his twin sons, Joseph and Thomas, in a remote farmhouse far removed from what remains of civilization. Life here is rigid, disciplined, and governed by routine. Every single day is spent preparing for an unnamed but ever-present threat. As night falls, the family follows strict security procedures. Doors are sealed. Windows are covered. Every possible entry point is checked and reinforced. Whatever is out there cannot be allowed inside. After dinner, Paul sits quietly as the twins play a game of chess. The moment feels almost peaceful, until their dog suddenly begins scratching frantically at the floor. Something is wrong. Thomas immediately heads downstairs to investigate, but before he can even react, violent banging erupts against the front door. The entire house shakes. Paul rushes down, throwing his weight against the door as whatever is outside tries to force its way in. Thomas helps him brace it, both of them struggling desperately as the pounding continues. Then, silence, the banging stops, they cautiously return upstairs. Joseph, who stayed behind, explains what he observed. The creature shook the door 3 times. The first lasted 10 seconds, like it was testing the structure. The second lasted 20 seconds, an actual attempt to break through. The final shake was just once, almost as if the creature was frustrated. This wasn't random, it was thinking. The next day, Paul inspects an old, rusted car nearby. He asks Joseph if he wants to show him what he's been working on. Joseph explains that the car still won't start, but once it does, it could make life easier around the farm. When Paul asks why he really built it, Joseph admits the truth: he's tired of hiding. He doesn't want to just survive anymore. Paul examines the engine, swaps a few relays, and the car roars to life. Joseph is stunned. Paul casually explains the fix, then takes Joseph out to teach him how to drive. Later, Paul assigns the twins their next task. The window coverings need reinforcement, so they'll have to salvage materials from the river. He also tells Joseph that he can visit the Rose farm the next day. They drive. Tension builds between the brothers. Thomas accuses Joseph of trapping him in this life. Joseph fires back, saying Thomas can leave anytime, he doesn't need Joseph's help. Hurt and angry, Thomas demands to be let out of the car, telling Joseph he'll meet him back before sunset. Thomas heads to the Rose farm, where it's revealed he has a quiet crush on Charlotte Rose, the daughter of the farm's owners. Meanwhile, Joseph reaches a wrecked ship near the river to collect supplies. Inside, something feels wrong. A single cockroach startles him, then suddenly, hundreds more swarm him, crawling and flying around in a horrifying frenzy. Joseph barely escapes as night begins to fall. Back at home, Paul grows increasingly anxious. His sons haven't returned. Joseph finally makes it home and tells Paul about Thomas going to the Rose
Where's your
farm,
brother?
promising to
He's not
return
here?
before
No.
sunset. Paul, trying to stay calm, tells Joseph that Thomas will be back in the morning and instructs him to secure the house, but Thomas never makes it home. That he regains consciousness in a dark cave after falling into a crevice. As he looks around, he realizes he's not alone. A creature lurks in the shadows. Back at the farmhouse, Joseph senses something moving outside. The tension is unbearable. In the cave, Thomas pulls out a knife and tries to flee, but the creature attacks. At the last possible second, Paul arrives, ripping the monster off his son and killing it with brutal force. He reaches Thomas and suggests they stay in the cave until morning, sealing the entrance to keep more creatures out. That night, as Joseph sleeps, another creature silently sneaks into the house. It extends a long nail toward Joseph's face, checking if he's truly asleep. The moment the creature lets its guard down, Joseph springs into action, trapping it inside a cave. Back in the cave, Paul and Thomas realize the creatures are emerging from beneath them. They're trapped. Paul rigs an explosive and tells Thomas to brace himself. The blast goes off, but Paul is badly injured. At dawn, Joseph finds them and uses the car to bring them home. Unsure how to help their unconscious father, the twins argue. Joseph reveals that he used himself as bait to capture one of the creatures. He explains that light hurts them and that the creatures entered the house in only 8 minutes last night. They're getting smarter. Thomas admits that the Rose family said the creatures rarely go near their farm. He also reveals he killed the cave creatures himself, and believes he can kill the one in the cage too. They open the cage. The creature darts into the corner, terrified of the light. When Rocco suddenly appears, the creature tries to escape. Joseph restrains it, and Thomas decapitates it with an axe. Joseph is upset, he wanted to study it. Thomas asks the blunt question, can they eat it? During the autopsy, Joseph discovers mud in the creature's nails. This changes everything. They take Paul to the Rose farm for help, but Mrs. Rose says they don't have medicine and can't shelter him. Charlotte offers her room, but her mother insists only Thomas may stay. Joseph walks away, bitter and detached. Thomas confronts him, but Joseph coldly says their father is going to die anyway. Enraged, Thomas attacks Joseph, but stops himself. Joseph returns home and notices disturbed soil around the house. The creatures are digging tunnels to the Rose farm. Charlotte secretly gives Thomas medicine. Unfortunately, a worker named Hobbs overhears. As Thomas leaves, Hobbs confronts him at gunpoint. Suddenly, the ground collapses beneath Hobbs. A creature bursts out, attacking. Mr. and Mrs. Rose are killed. Chaos erupts as creatures slaughter the farm workers. Charlotte shoots one to save Thomas. Realizing her parents are gone, they flee. They reach Paul's house just as he regains confidence. Joseph explains everything. Paul makes a decision. They won't hide anymore. They prepare for war. Joseph devises a plan involving the freezer. The house is turned into a trap. As creatures break in, Thomas and Charlotte ambush them. Joseph lures them inside. The floor collapses. Creatures fall. One reaches Paul. Seeing his sons fighting to protect him, Paul realizes his purpose is complete. His training worked. Paul sacrifices himself. He detonates the explosives as the children hide in the freezer. The explosion destroys the house and the creatures. With Paul inside, the children survive. Some creatures remain, chasing them as they flee in the car. Eventually, the remaining monsters die, unable to sustain themselves. Dawn, Thomas, Joseph, and Charlotte bury their parents. With their dog by their side, they leave in search of a new farmhouse, not just to survive, but to live.